Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott, and we have a glorious episode today. We are going to explore activating the starseed. And in fact, if you're listening to this, it may be very likely that you are a starseed, that all along you've planned to come along to hear this particular episode of the Reality Revolution. I want to discuss, in particular, activating the DNA starseed and kind of give you a history of this and what it means as we move into a completely new Earth. This is discussed in a variety of different works, and it's hard to tell what exactly is correct or not. There is what seems like some sort of contradiction from many of the different spiritual works. If you look at the Bringers of Dawn, talking about the Pleiadians, or Drunvalo Melchizedek, who's talking about the history of the earth, the Law of One material, or Urantia, all of this stuff has a little bit different. There's Kurth Barker, who talks about the Archons. There is so much different information out there. We must accept the fact that it may be that all of it is true. We're in a multidimensional level of consciousness, and the Earth has been through a variety of different histories. There may be a way that they all interact and become unified, or they may be a merging of different parallel histories that have an overall seeming arc that seems somewhat similar in many of the cases. Many of these cases indicate that the Earth is some sort of prison planet, that we've been experimented on, that we are an experiment, that there has been a battle in the universe. The Bringers of Dawn information indicates there was a battle of the universe, a little bit unclear as to who it was that had this battle. The Law of One information indicates the Confederation of Planets is controlling this area of space. So the information we're getting from the Law of One material may be pro the people that control the planet at this time. So we don't know exactly who to trust or what is correct. Kurth Barker and Drunvalo Melchizedek also indicate this. It's very interesting information, and it has some connection to who you are. So having a background of understanding what's happening on the Earth, according to Dolores Cannon, the history of the solar system starts with the Archaics who designed the solar system, even including Jupiter as a sort of backup sun, backup light bulb, if you would say, for the universe that we're in. The Law of One information indicates that Saturn is the location of the Council of Nine, who control this particular level of the solar system, coming from 8th density. There is a variety of discussions in the Law of One material. You can check out my previous episodes that we were quarantined. This quarantine is discussed in many different channeled works. We were quarantined for a variety of reasons, partially for the intrusion of other alien races on our planet and how it skewed everything. There's a lot of different histories that seem similar. There's discussion of Atlantis, there's discussion of Martians coming to Earth, Earthlings going to Mars. There's discussion of the Elohim coming into the solar system. A long time ago, Mars was a living planet like the Earth, and it was inhabited by a long-forgotten alien culture. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, the Elohim, who Neville Goddard talks about, came to the deserted solar system that we're in now and changed the orbital order of the planets. They created new planets and created life on Earth. They brought the human race in its original form into existence. There are a variety of other mythical histories about the Earth. Matthias de Stefano has a very enticing discussion of this. Some of them involve Pleiadians that first came here and created the humans. I'm sure it's very easy for you to find a discussion of the Anunnaki being a creator of the genetic imprint of humanity. But it appears that something happened in our past that sort of imprisons us here longer than is necessary. Barbara Messiniak exclaims in The Bringers of Dawn that we used to have 12 strands of DNA. that we were godlike, and that they purposely came and changed the DNA. And this resonates with additional material written by Matthias Fleury in his Downloads from the Nine, talking about how the darkness had changed our DNA. The Dolores Cannon material and the Law of One material indicates that a large number of wanderers, or starseeds, have reincarnated on this planet. There are lots of restrictions on this planet because it's sort of a quarantine. So the only way anybody could really make a difference in uplifting the Earth, which over time began to collect incarnations of different alien races that are in third density that didn't make it. So if this planet goes to fourth density, if anybody here doesn't make it, and they somehow have to repeat third density to shift fourth density, they came here. So there's like 16 different races that are here. Some of these races come from the solar system's history. Martians. There is the story of Maldek, a planet somewhere between Earth and Mars that was destroyed, that is the asteroid belt. There's also a planet referred to in Kurt Barker's information between Mars and Jupiter called Elysium. According to the Kurt Barker information, the Elohim came and created new planets and changed the orbital paths of some of the planets that are currently in our solar system. After this huge change, there's a change to all of the different planets around. And after the first Archon invasion, the Elohim and the spacefaring humans left this solar system. And the spacefaring humans became the Pleiadian humans and united with these blue ETs, so they could be related to that. There's so many different things. So I don't know what is true or not. And it doesn't matter. What may be the truth of it is that if you're hearing this now, you are one of these family of light. You are one of the reincarnated that have come to this planet, and you have a mission. You have a purpose. But it's different for everyone. And an understanding of what's actually happening will help you. In the Law of One material, when they ask Ra is a social memory complex, a very high density being that would only answer questions. And so they introduced the subject of starseeds when they asked, well, you spoke of wanderers. Who are wanderers? Where do they come from? And Ra says, imagine, if you will, the sands of your shores. As countless as the grains of sand are the sources of intelligent infinity. When a social memory complex has achieved its complete understanding of its desire, it may conclude that its desire is service to others, with the distortion towards reaching their hand. Figuratively, to any entities who call for aid, and these entities, whom you may call the brothers and sisters of sorrow, move towards this calling of sorrow. These entities are from all reaches of the infinite creation and are bound together by the desire to serve in this distortion. At the time, they asked how many are incarnated on Earth, and I have an update in 2018. But then they said the number is approximately, due to a heavy influx of those birthed at this time, due to an intensive need to lighten the planetary vibration, approximately 650 million. They asked where they were from. Are most of these from fourth density? What density do they come from? Ross says few there are of fourth density. The largest number of wanderers, as you call them, are of sixth density. The desire to serve must be distorted towards a great deal of purity of mind and what you may call foolhardiness or bravery, depending upon your distortion complex judgment. The challenge danger of the wanderer is that it will forget its mission, become karmically involved, and thus be swept into the maelstrom from which it had incarnated to aid the destruction. What could one of these entities do to become karmically involved? An entity which acts in a consciously unloving manner in action with other beings can become karmically involved. There's also a question if these wanderers have physical ailments, and they indicate that wanderers have a general rule, some form of handicap, difficulty, or feeling of alienation, which is severe. The most common of these difficulties are alienation, the reactions against the planetary vibration by personality disorders, as you would call them, and body complex ailments indicating difficulty in adjusting to the planetary vibration, such as allergies. Now, is there a way for these entities to heal themselves? And the self-healing distortion is affected through realization of the infinite intelligence resting within. This is blocked in some way in those who are not perfectly balanced in bodily complex, and the blockage varies from entity to entity. It requires the conscious awareness of the spiritual nature of reality, if you will, and the corresponding pourings of this reality into the individual mind-body-spirit complex for healing to take place. There's even a discussion of Orion entities who are service to self that target wanderers on this planet to lower the vibration of the planet. So you're struggling with physical ailments, personality disorders, and the question is, what happens when we go through this transition? Why are we really here? What's happening to our body? Is there something that's supposed to happen to us now? In the Dolores Cannon material, it's interesting because several of her patients, when interviewed, realized that they were just here as sort of a light bulb or a battery, somebody that raised the vibration just by their very presence. And this was difficult for many of them because they felt like they were useless. They should have had a greater desire to do something more to fulfill their purpose. There are 60 million wanderers in 1981, and then when they asked Quo about this, they said in the last channeling session, those of Quo stated that many of you are from elsewhere to aid this planet in its transition to the fourth density, and that those of Quo have knowledge of this type of experience because many of you are portions of our own being and have gone through the veil of forgetting to join others of like mind to serve the one in the many within the earth planes. Quo says, I am Quo and am aware of your query. At this time, there are approximately 350 million of these entities who have incarnated within your earth planes in order to offer their service to those of the planet who would request such. Many have come in recent times, also from other third density planets, who have made the graduation there and are incarnating in what you may call the double activated bodies in order to be of service in helping this planet make its transition into the fourth density of love and understanding. The number of these entities exceeds that of wanderers, reaching nearly 500 million entities. So, one other thing that's happening here is we're all sort of starseeds. We come from different planets to begin with. Many of us are portions of the Elohim, as was Neville Goddard, and as perhaps all of us on this planet. That the souls are made up of the Elohim, these very advanced beings that created the solar system, and we're coming to a realization of that. But while this is happening, there are other alien races that have been involved in the Earth. According to the Bringers of Dawn information, some of these advanced races feed on emotions. Some feed on love, and some feed on fear and anger and hate, and actually feed on these emotions and are catalysts for those sort of emotions on this planet. Many of those of the family of light, the wanderers, the starseeds that are here, are to help overcome this. They ask Quo, if you can tell us of those wanderers living on Earth at this time, can you tell us what proportion are members of social memory complexes within the Confederation, especially those of whom we most often communicate? They say that we can say that each of the wanderers that have incarnated within this planetary influence are indeed members of the Confederation of Planets in the service of the one infinite creator for this planetary entity that you call Earth, and which others refer to as Terra, is within, shall we say, jurisdiction or bounds of responsibility of this Confederation, which would indicate, according to the previous material as well, that to become a wanderer, you get approval through the Council of Nine on Saturn to come to this planet. That it was quarantined for a long time. This quarantine may have gone away. We were in a sort of time loop for a while that was implied in other material. So this might have changed, and this quarantine may have recently been lifted. Maybe one of the reasons why we're seeing more and more stuff with aliens in real life on TV. But there is some questions about the DNA being changed. The DNA being changed in the Bringers of Dawn information, saying that we're going to move back to the 12 strands of the DNA. There's so many different discussions of DNA. I wanted to dedicate a little time to that as well. In the Law of One, in the 65th session, they talk about The forgetting process was puzzling to me, they ask, because you said that fourth density activated people who are here, who had been harvestable, did not have the same forgetting problem. Could you tell me why the wanderer loses his memory? The reason is twofold. First, the genetic properties of the connection between the mind-body-spirit complex and the cellular structure of the body is different for third density than for fourth density. Secondly, the free will of third density entities needs to be preserved. Thus, wanderers volunteer for third density genetic or DNA connections to the mind-body-spirit complex. The forgetting process can be penetrated to the extent of the wanderer remembering what it is and why it is upon the planetary sphere. However, it would be infringement if wanderers penetrated the forgetting so far as to activate the more dense bodies and thus be able to live, shall we say, in a godlike manner. This would not be proper for those who have chosen to serve. The new fourth density entities, which are becoming able to demonstrate various newer abilities, are doing so as a result of the present experience, not as a result of memory. There are always a few exceptions, and we ask your forgiveness for constant barrages of overgeneralization. So we have an indication that there is a DNA activation that can occur for some people that have fourth density bodies, fourth density bodies that are being activated. There seems to be a transition that has occurred, and I get confirmation from my higher self about this, that there has been a speeding up process and an allowance of DNA activation. So what is happening in the past is they avoided wanderers being activated into higher density bodies because they would be godlike and it would be dangerous. But this is a discussion that's happened, and over the years it's starting to happen. We're moving into a fourth density vehicle that is double activated. It's able to exist in both densities. And according to the information that I'm reading, it could be a major change that we're experiencing on Earth in our lifetimes. The DNA can be changed. One of the interesting things when you start to study DNA and genetic alteration, it can be made through viruses. Viruses are a way of actually changing the DNA of someone. This DNA change could result in changes of your body now, not in the future, or not in some evolved portion of our future. So there's a discussion of this happening now. It's very interesting and important to point out. Understand what's happening. We're ascending and activating the starseed. What information is out there about this? There's a ton of information. For a lot of starseeds that go through a tough time, they don't want to be here. The Earth is a frustrating place. It's not the place that they want to be. They don't want to go through this process. Some people find their bodies completely disgusting. Many find it very difficult to live in these bodies. And as there is an activation occurring, there seems to be symptoms that occur. And people have discussed this. There are websites that have lists, many different symptoms of an activation occurring. Many people are going through energetic conditions that are wanderers that are going through a change in their DNA now. It's become so subtle that we don't know. They can do alterations in our DNA in a way that we don't necessarily notice over time. Amazing things may be happening right under our noses that we're not aware of. I find it fascinating. We must discuss it further. I believe it's a part of this transition to the new Earth, and I love to speak to other starseeds. I don't know if I'm necessarily a starseed, but I know my purpose is to speak to them. They're an important part of this plan that we're going through, a part of the bringing of light. I'm just going in alignment with this message because the people that I've met that believe that they are starseeds are high vibrational beings almost every time and carry lots of knowledge and information and are people that you generally want to be hanging out with. That's one thing that I've noticed. So I believe that we're all starseeds. We all come from some sort of cosmic background, deep within our reincarnational experience. So what happens when we have these DNA activations? Well, I think there's a physical change. These adjustments and activations and changes and shifts will come through a series of processes. I may be an instrument in this DNA activation just from the words I'm using. You know, I've always connected and asked to be a voice that can alter the vibration of the planet and raise it up. How can I do that? So sometimes I think beings are working through me. They may feel and seem related to the ailments of common cold. And with the increase of the vibratory expansion and expressions for which the ascensions put forth, the physical body will begin with a shift and a detox of those less than light vibrational patterns and expressions, those less than high vibrational patterns. And as a part of the process, and in the process, there will be a release of energies, which were up until this point in time trapped within the coatings within the bodies. And these releases and shifts vary in nature. And the common cause for one is not the common cause for all. So it's not like all of us are going to have the same experience. For some may experience a release of emotional or physical trauma, while another may release a pattern and code within the anatomical structure of the physical experience. And all are shifting and healing at their own frequency, rate, and solitude. After physical, there would be mental shifts. And with these great shifts comes a clarity of mind, body, and spirit. At this time, we focus on the mind, for there may be that which appears as fog or haze, an energy of confusion mentioned in the Law of One material, and of a sleep that encompasses the mental constructs in and around the mind, and the brain waves and the patterns. These elemental propensities were afforded during times of need throughout the course of Earth's history and expansion. Yes, this was done in and by us and others like us, but please do not fear or fret, for it was also done by love and of necessity, as you are aware. There were times when such measures were taken and undertaken with the purpose of a surety and of a slowing down of expansions for a period of time. This is not the deactivation of the genomes, but of the subtle sleep that was placed upon the human race in order to assist with the expansion through a series of step-backs, through a series of switchbacks that were taken along the path and route of time on Earth. This was done to rectify a need or a cause within the clarity and thinking processes of the human mind, brain, and mental formulations. Sort of a reset. You can liken it to the practice of stopping the beating of the heart for a period of incubation, much like the medically induced comas and practices afforded by and through the establishments and doctors of our time. This practice and procedure gives the mind a moment to rest and function. New structures are formed within, thinking formulations begin to form. And then there's new advancements in spiritual and energetic technologies and ideas. There's an emotional shift that occurs. Emotionally, as the light body is activated, one may release a series of low vibratory emotions from within their cellular structures and energetic anatomies. Many of these releasements are deeply seated emotions which have been carried over from lifetime and time again. These emotions have been, up until this point, stored and are trapped within the energetic experience and expressions of the soul's experiences upon the earth. There's also the energetic ascension that will occur. For the energetic activations which transpire will take place in and around the auric structure and station. As the light body is activated, you'll receive a boost, a transmission of light, which will support and maintain the appropriateness of the transformation and elevation of your auric station, being, and shield. Through this activation and assimilation, much will transpire and occur within your life and in your being, for as your station rises in elevation and propensities for all that is good, wholesome, and pure, you will feel a draw and an interconnectedness to that which is upworthy and in alignment with the cause. This is your cause, and the greater cause of the all, the cause of and for humanity and earth, for the ascension of earth and her inhabitants. For you are love, and we are love, sent to the earth from the highest love, the God divine. Let us recall and regress our memories and understanding to those times, places, spaces, and experiences that have prepared us for and that which anoint us onto our missions and purposes upon the world in this dimension, in these times and spaces. For the soul is everlasting and eternal. Would it not be presumptuous to only assume that only and forevermore throughout the eternity of that which is ever to be and come, that one may only be afforded and only undertake upon them one lifetime, in only one formation, we say that this would be unjust, and this is a misconception placed upon the thoughts and understandings of those within your sphere, your world at this time. But these understandings and misconceptions are changing. They are shifting as more and more light beings, souls inhabiting the human form, begin to awaken. As each being awakens, you become a conduit for light. The light flows through you in a greater manner. And light is more than just light, like the light bulb light. Light is information. So what's happening is you become a conduit for information. You have information coming through you. You share this information. The world changes. More light means more information. Love means creation. So we are bringing love and light, creation and information. You are a special being. You've been through so much, and you are so advanced. You know it. There is a remembering of what happened. You may have limited yourself from what you can remember, but there may have been a dispensation given, and there may be a change while you're in your body that you're not aware of, that you can overcome this limitation that you placed on yourself pre-incarnationally, that you can't remember, that you can't have access to these powers. For it is your birthright, and the birthright of those who seek and intend to claim their freedom from the oppression on the mind, body, spirit, and soul while in the physical form. For you do see all around you. You see that there are many who are awakening, and many of those who are awakening, although they may feel lost in the process, are actually in turn turning into that which and by whom they truly are. Outside of the human form, there exists a space of endless possibilities, a void. For in this space, one is not bound to the justifications of the human form. Within this space, the spirit is free to gather, collect, and explore thoughts, feelings, and abilities, and journey to distant places for exploratory purposes and educational insights. The soul may go on these journeys, these plights, and seek for that which is truth and knowledge. The soul is always ever expanding and growing, and such is and are the experiences of and for the soul that inhabits human form. For there are many souls, many stations of beings for varying natures of experience inhabiting the human body at this time. There's a multidimensional aspect for this ascension. Check out my episode on multidimensional consciousness in the new earth. You are going to have the ability to have consciousness in more than one living being and control and be aware of those consciousness. It's a huge change, going from just 2 bodies to 4, 1 body to 2, to be able to control 2 bodies, to think in 2 bodies. This is what's going to happen. You're going to realize that you're a part of a gigantic body of different beings, all with one consciousness. It's not weird. It's not the Borg. It just is. You will have control of them all. And this is part of this ascension, because these bodies are your multiple selves that exist in the multiverse, but also exist within this universe in souls of other bodies that are a part of the same soul that is you. We travel from near and far, in and out, through portals of time to be here now in this moment. To be here now in this era, this millennium, upon and within the earth and her field, that which is her auric station. We do so for experience and knowledge. We do so for adventure, and it is hard to say, to put into terms, through only one word. What I'm speaking of spans the test of time, spreading and reaching back and forward, far and vast, through the time experiences available since the creation and until the dissolution of the planet Earth. And upon the dissolution of her being, there will be those who will forever cherish the moments and memories in which they had upon such a diverse and plentiful planet. It is an honor and privilege to be afforded the ability to incarnate in these human bodies now. There will be a spiritual shift. Spiritually, there will be a shift upon the lands and within the earth as starseeds and the like awaken and claim their inheritance. I believe we come into access to these through our dreams and meditations. We unveil the truth. The veil of forgetting is released. And this is all illuminated in our lives. I've met starseeds that say, I'm stuck here, in this human form that I find distasteful and disgusting, and eminently fallible and weak. This form is frail. It lasts maybe 70, 90 years. It's not what you're used to if you're a starseed, and you are. And then it decays and becomes horrible. Why would anyone want to be in this thing? You say, I would never have wanted to do that. What point did this ever serve? Ugh. Take me out. Take me away. Take me back home. I hear that all the time. To this I say, your being here is the product of an empowered choice that you made before incarnation. It was an empowered choice to experience certain types of energies for learning, for enriching the knowledge of your soul, and for service to the earth community. You wanted to come. And the point is to wake up to what it is intended for yourself when you choose to do this. The avoidance of your human path is never the solution. Embracing the reason for it, that you know in your heart of hearts is the truth, is the key to a joyful and meaningful life, to a meaningful DNA activation. Gil Sims speaks of DNA as the key to the base coding. Take advantage of this key, Sims says, in the book Finding Yourself for Starseeds and Lightworkers, Activations for 7 Star Races. Take advantage of this key. It is being handed to you right now as we speak. And as you read and listen, this key will show you into the library of your DNA base coding, where there lies a shelf with books on your incarnational experience as a human being. In these books lie all the higher purposes and meanings of every single one of your experiences as a soul as it relates to your human consciousness. Take this key, unlock the library, go to your shelf and read through the books that are about you. They will tell you about the reasons behind why you have gone through what you have been through, and the futures they point towards, having planted seeds already in your experience for things to unfold, blossom, and ripen. This is not the Akashic record, though this information is within the Akashic record. This is just about you. You can find it in the Akashic. There's some different ways. Check out my episode on Akashic jumping. I'll do a little exercise at the end of this so you can access your DNA to get this information. DNA, if you do not know what it is deoxyribonucleic acid, the scientific name for the hereditary material in human beings that contains the instructions for building a life form. Science has discovered 2 strands of DNA in the physical cells of each person that gives them their physical characteristics such as height, hair color, and health. In actual fact, human DNA is much more than that. It is a vast, multidimensional library of information that contains all the experiences as well as instructions for the awakening and transformation of an individual consciousness through its multiple forms and evolutions throughout time. We are going through mutations now. I know you don't believe me, but we are. Read Drimbalo Melchizedek's The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life, Volume 2, where he talks about human mutations, historical and recent. Melchizedek says that deep in our DNA, we are becoming new and very different. What appear to be genetic changes in our human DNA are showing up all over the world. What many scientists would call mutation has already occurred. And like it or not, the birthing of at least 3 new human races appears to be occurring at this very moment on the earth. 3 very different kinds of races, filling the needs of a new humanity. The great change is definitely happening inside us and hardly anyone knows. It is quiet, but it is getting louder with the first breath of each newborn baby. DNA changes are rare, but they do happen. One of the most documented cases is associated with human blood. Humankind had only one blood type for the dawn of humanity until relatively recently. No matter what the outer skin appearance was, black, yellow, red, white, brown, the blood was the same. Everybody had type O blood flowing through their veins, and everybody killed animals for their food. It was universal until 15,000 years ago, the time when the great comet struck the Earth off the coast of Atlantis. What happened? Most of the world other than Atlantis quit moving from place to place to hunt and eat animals. We became farmers. Our diets changed. We began to eat vegetables and grains in combinations that had never entered in the human body before. The body responded to these dietary changes by mutating the human DNA and making a new, unheard of blood type A. Beside this new blood, there were other DNA changes that affected the stomach acids and enzymes and other body functions to assimilate these new foods. Some scientists suggest that climate changes may have also had an effect on this mutation. As time went on, twice more than human blood changed each time in response to changes in diet and possible climate changes. Types B and AB were born. At the moment, there are 4 types, but this will continue. Toward the end of the 20th century, foods from all over the world became available to almost anyone, anywhere on Earth. Humanity, for the first time, began to eat all the foods of the world. You can go into almost any major market in the civilized world and get anything you want from anywhere. Papayas from Mexico, avocados from California, olives from Greece, vodka from Russia, and on and on. You can go into almost any American city and eat Chinese food, or Mexican, Italian, Japanese, American, German. Will a new blood type emerge to accommodate this unprecedented shuffle of foods? DNA changes do take place within seemingly innocuous changes in diet and climate. The changes happening on Earth today are astounding by anyone's standards. They are so huge that one would expect a human genetic response, and beyond doubt, humanity has responded. A new change has taken place in human genetics that has such far-reaching implications to the future of humankind that I simply must discuss it. Most of the people who have made these DNA changes are children. There are 3 distinct categories, each with very different, exciting new powers. There might be more than 3, but to date, this is all we can see. I believe these children are leading us into a new future, unlike what has been experienced in the last few million years. In addition, as I suggested before, these children may have altered the 4th dimensional shift to complete the karma of the 3rd dimension in such a way as to allow all humans to make this translation into the 4th dimension. Yet with or without this dimensional shift, the new human genetic change will alter us forever. It was from China in 1974 that the first newly mutated child was noticed by the world. It was a young boy who was able to see with his ears. Yes, he could see with his ears in the same way you can see with your eyes. Actually, even better. Do you think it is impossible? If you do, then you are in for a life-shaking surprise. In the United States, with a completely different race of new children, these children are called the indigo children, with new DNA alterations. The indigo children, as they are now called by science, were first traced back to the year 1984. This was the year when suddenly a child appeared with very different human traits, and since that time, this new type of human being has spread rapidly. As of 1999, science has suggested that approximately 80 to 90% of all children born in the United States are indigo children. I believe it will probably rise to nearly 100% in the future. You and I are obviously being phased out. These children are being born not only in the US, but also in many other areas of the world that seem to be connected with the wide use of computers. I see it with my own son. He is able to use a computer as if it's an extension of his own body. Lee Carroll and Jan Tober have written a book called The Indigo Children, The New Kids Have Arrived. It is a book compiled of scientific studies, letters, and notes written by medical doctors and psychologists and scientists who have been studying these new children. It is the first book in the world, I believe, to discuss these new children. There are many more on the way, yet no one officially recognized them until this book appeared. Now, how are these children different? Science has not yet figured out exactly what the specific DNA change is that has taken place in this new race, but it is obvious that one has happened. First of all, these children have a different liver than ours, which means there has to be a DNA change. This liver change is naturally a response to the new foods we are eating. The new liver is designed to eat, of all things, junk food. What happens to cockroaches when you feed them poison? At first they get sick and die, but then they mutate, change their DNA, and end up loving our poisons. We have to keep changing our poisons because they keep adapting to them. Are you not to think that humans are more advanced than cockroaches? Of course we are advancing within our lifetimes. This liver change is nothing compared to the other revisions in human nature and genetics. First of all, these indigo children are brilliant. They have an IQ that averages around 130. Doctors and psychologists studying these children have found that the computer seems to be an extension of these kids' brains. They're far more able to function within the parameters of computer software than anyone ever before. It is also shown that these kids have super heightened immune systems. I believe that you are one of them. I don't care what your age is. In some cases, the DNA changes have to be activated. They can be activated through meditation and through active awakening procedures that we're talking about right now. The question is, have we actually entered the fourth density and recreated it to appear like the third dimension? It does seem like this is what's happening. We're starting to do that genetically. Look inside yourself. Are you changing? Are you even remotely the same person you were just a few years ago? And now that you're exploring or about to explore your higher consciousness, will your life ever be the same? Birth has its way of making everything new, and it feels like that we've gone through this change. Another interesting assessment is how levels of consciousness are related to the DNA structure, as Melchizedek also explains. The Sanskrit literature talks about how when we approach a certain level that we become aware of electrical energies. We can fly in the sky. We can do many unusual things. Perhaps the world of Marvel is just a preparation for us, or a remembering of another time in the past. The world becomes extremely unstable, and in a single day we get rid of the old way of viewing the world and make a huge transformation in consciousness. But as we approach this transformation, given the particular level of consciousness we have, we tend to destroy everything we touch. It's a natural part of who we are. We're not doing anything wrong, it's just the way we are. We're doing it exactly right. We destroy everything and we cause everything to go into disharmony. On Earth, according to Thoth, there are 5 totally different steps or levels of life that each human is going to pass through. When we reach the 5th level, we will make a transformation that transcends known life itself. That's the normal pattern. Each one of these levels of consciousness has many aspects that are different from other levels. First, they have different chromosome levels. The first level of human consciousness has 42 plus 2 chromosomes. The second level has 44 plus 2 chromosomes. The third one has 46 plus 2. The fourth, 48 plus 2. And finally, 50 plus 2. Each level of human consciousness has a different body height associated with it. The first level of 42 plus 2 has a range of height somewhere between 4 and maybe 6 feet. The people who fall into that category specifically are the Aborigines in Australia and certain tribes in Africa and South America. The second level of consciousness has 44 plus 2 chromosomes, and that's us. Our band of height is about 5 to 7 feet. We're a little taller than the first group. The third level's height goes up considerably. The 46 plus 2 chromosome level interrupts the reality through what you term unity or Christ consciousness. That range of height is from 10 to 16 feet tall. Then there's another range for the 4th level of consciousness, the 48 plus 2s, who have a height of about 30 to 35 feet. The final band, the perfected human, is between 50 and 60 feet tall. They have 52 chromosomes. I suspect that the reason there are 52 cards in the deck is related to the 52 chromosomes of the potential of man. For those of you who are Hebrew, you might remember the Metatron, the perfect man, which we will become, was blue and 55 feet tall. There are states between the consciousness levels, like Down syndrome, for example. Down syndrome happens when a person transitions from this second level of consciousness, which we are on, into the 3rd level, but didn't quite make it. The person didn't get all the instructions right, and where he almost always fails is in the left brain instructional aspect of the chromosome. A Down syndrome person has 45 plus 2 chromosomes. He got one of them, but not the other. He or she got the emotional one, the heart one, all right. If you know any Down syndrome children, they are pure love. But they don't understand how to make the transition into the 3rd level of human consciousness. They are still learning and will eventually move on. The 2nd and 4th levels of consciousness are disharmonic, and the 1st, 3rd, and 5th levels are harmonic. You'll understand this when we see in geometries. When you look at human consciousness from a geometrical point of view, you can see the harmonic levels, and you can see the disharmonic levels are simply out of balance. That's where we are right now, out of balance. These disharmonic levels are absolutely necessary. You can get from level 1 to level 3 without passing through level 2. The 2 is a totally disharmonic consciousness. Does chaos not bring change? Whenever a consciousness gets into the 2nd or 4th level, it knows it can be there for only a short time. These levels are used as stepping stones. Like a stone in the middle of a river, one you jump on and get off of as soon as you get to the other side. You don't hang out there, because if you do, you fall in. If we were to hang out here on Earth even just a little bit longer, we would destroy our planet. We would destroy it by just being who we are. We are a sacred and necessary step in evolution. We are a bridge to another world, and we are living this bridge by being just alive in this incredible time. Additional information about the DNA comes from Bringers of the Dawn. They say that the Pleiadian ancestors gave their DNA to the original planners, and this DNA became part of the DNA of the human species. One of the reasons they care so much, I guess. Additionally, many sentient civilizations gave of their DNA to have representation of their coding upon this planet. The master geneticist then designed various species, some human, some animal, by playing with the varieties of DNA that the sentient civilizations contributed to make Earth into this exchange center of information, this light center, this living library. The plan for Earth was a grand one. They go on to say these new owners came here 300,000 years ago, are the magnificent beings spoken of in your Bible. They rearranged your DNA in order to have you broadcast within a certain limited frequency band, whose frequency could feed them and keep them in power. The original human was a magnificent being whose 12 strands of DNA were contributed by a variety of sentient civilizations. When the new owners came in, they worked in their laboratories and created versions of humans with a different DNA, the two-stranded double helix DNA. They took the original DNA of the human species and disassembled it. The original DNA pattern was left within the human cells, yet it was not functional. It was split apart, it was unplugged. Within human cells are light-encoded filaments, fine gossamer threads of energy that carry information. When these gossamer threads are working together like a cable, the way fiber optics works, they form the helix of your DNA. When you were rearranged, you were left with the double helix. Anything that was unnecessary for survival and that would keep you informed was unplugged, leaving you with only a double helix that would lock you into a controllable, operable frequencies. They even claim a frequency fence, like an electric fence, was put around the planet to control how much the frequencies of humans could be modulated and changed. As the story goes, this frequency fence made it very difficult for the frequencies of light information to penetrate. When light frequencies were able to penetrate the control fence, there was no light to receive them. The human's DNA was unplugged. The light-encoded filaments were no longer organized, so the creative cosmic rays that we light did not have anything to plug into and hold on to. So why are we here? We're here because they took away these abilities. And we're here to wake up the DNA of the human race. We're here to circumvent that because the field around the earth is not allowing these frequencies to come in directly or being slowed and controlled in a certain way. But they can't stop us from within. We express this light in a different way, and we become the DNA activators as we activate our own DNA. The plan to change the frequency modulation affecting the human species entails the rebundling of your DNA in the light-encoded filaments. The planet is gigantic at this time, the Pleiadians claim in the Bringers of Dawn. Earth is assisting in its own way the evolution of the universe. Earth is where things are happening. It is the hot spot, the place to be. It is where the plan begins to blossom, and what happens on Earth is going to affect many, many worlds, and you will be known for this. Your DNA will evolve from 2 helixes to 12 helixes. These 12 helixes correspond to energy centers or chakras inside and outside of your body. Millions of you on the planet at this time are on assignment, and you've agreed to carry the frequency to accomplish this. Handfuls of you are becoming impeccable, and these handfuls are affecting the others. Soon you will begin to have great clarity as to who you are and what your assignment is. This process is an incredible evolutionary leap for one to be involved in, and is going to take place on an accelerated path. There are those who have already received a realignment from the 12 strands of DNA, the 12 helixes. These 12 spiral strands of DNA interact with one another. In the body and outside of the body, the connection of the 12 strands means the 12 energy or information centers can begin to function and send information back and forth to one another. Traditionally, 7 of these centers are located in the body and 5 are located outside of the body. They're commonly known as your chakra centers and are aligned with the spinning of the 12 heavenly bodies that you know of at this time within your solar system. The 12 heavenly bodies that are vibrating as you recognize them in 3D. These 12 heavenly bodies are spinning with information. They spin with the chakra system that go out to the end of the universe and spin with the DNA spinning inside your body. When human DNA begins to rebundle as a 12-stranded helix system, and this information is acted upon, there will be an incredible power. Individuals, simply by coming together and jointly intending what they want, jointly becoming a telepathic receptacle for the energies from all over the cosmos, will change the face of the universe. We might call this rebundling process of your DNA a mutation. Once you, as members of the family of light, are able to take this mutation into your bodies, you'll be able to integrate your 12 centers of information because you remember doing it before. Encoded within you is the ability to teach this to others. You'll begin to understand that you create your experience, you create your reality, and you'll learn to become conscious creators, and you become an example for others. More than that, you'll become conscious rememberers of who you are. As your 10th, 11th, and 12th chakras begin to open themselves, many off-planet energies will appear in your lives. These energies will occur on this planet as more and more of you hold the higher frequencies. The 10th chakra connects with the solar system, the 11th with the galaxy, and the 12th with a place in the universe. As you hold these frequencies, you will bring information onto this planet that will astound and shock the world. There will be a merging of identities, a merging of cultures, an infusion of many new world orders, and there will be much chaos and confusion. As members of the family of light, you can simply observe this, knowing that chaos and confusion must come to break down the system so that it can but rebuild with light. As members of the family of light, you can understand that there is an evolutionary process taking place, and that those who can handle the changing frequencies by all means will evolve. Earth is an exciting place to be at this time. At one time, your DNA was intact. It was like a beautiful library where the information was all cataloged and referenced, and you could find anything you wanted to find instantly. We'll do an exercise at the end to try to access this information. It never left. It was just simply thrown about. Imagine walking into a library and everything was just thrown about. When the biogenetic alteration occurred to unplug the data, it was as if someone hid the reference system and pulled all the books off the shelves and heaped them into a pile on the floor so that there was no order to them. This is how your DNA was scattered and scrambled by the raiders a long time ago. Certain entities took the existing species, which was indeed a glorious species, and retooled it for their own uses, their own needs. They disrupted the informational frequency inside human beings, changed the DNA, and gave you the double helix that you could keep in ignorance. Your frequency of accessibility was simply shut off so that you couldn't turn the dial of your own radio. Marciniak even goes on to say the original planners are after much more than this particular zone here. They are after a shift in the universal DNA. They want the entire universe to orchestrate a new symphony in consciousness. They're not only after the reestablishment of frequency availability on Earth, their game is much bigger. They're after a restructuring of the vibratory rate of this entire universe. They're creating this by going into key zones to infiltrate and bring about a simultaneous implosion. There will be a universal awakening within these various centers so that the entire universe will change its frequency in its own time. Before you came into the body, all you committed to designing events that would fire your codings or blueprints that would activate your memories. Then you came into the body and you forgot. All of you have had your blueprints and codings fired to some extent because you understand there is a divine purpose or divine plan that you are a part of. The firing of the codings and the realization of your identity are going to become phenomenally intense. The reason for this is the evolving DNA. When you have 12 helixes of DNA in place, these helixes will begin to plug into the 12 chakra system. Your DNA is a filament. The rearrangement of the body is the restructuring of the DNA. A scientist would describe it as a connective filament. Scientists, doing the best they can come up to at this point, have found certain codings within certain portions of the DNA. They also have found superfluous portions of the DNA. In other words, there are portions that cannot translate or figure out. So they think these portions of the DNA are just there for the ride, and they call them junk DNA. They are off track. What the scientists call junk DNA has been dormant in your body for a long time and is now becoming activated. In our teachings, we emphasize the importance of oxygenation because oxygen feeds the coding and awakens the junk DNA in your body. This awakening of DNA will allow you to change your eyesight, change your hearing, increase your lifespan, and so on. The dormant part of the DNA has baffled the scientists, and it's now coming to life. How do you change your DNA? I would definitely recommend reading the book Downloads from the Nine. The book is sort of a channeling from the Council of Nine, but it's designed to change your DNA when you read it. It's the best thing I can explain. There are images and pictures. There's a variety of different things that don't make sense, and afterwards you feel like you're changed. It's pretty amazing. So I would definitely check that out. There's a chapter on DNA transmutation where if you wish for a deeper and more intense connection with the loving energies and DNA, changes will start to occur with astral changes. Will embrace subatomic particles and atoms and cells and DNA and RNA, muscles, internal organs, nervous and circulatory systems will begin to change. It changes specific vibratory combinations. There's a mantra here in the Devic language that they recommend, which is Ashmiat, Ashmat Viatat, Anabel Bushtam, which is I allow the energies of the crystalline Deva Annabelle to embrace me. These crystalline energies are described in many different books as a part of this energetic rearrangement of the DNA. It may have something to do with it, and I would definitely check out that book. Some of those mantras are pretty fascinating, and the description of the DNA being connected to the astral plane, to filaments in the astral level. And so through meditation, you bridge the gap and you're able to activate these filaments on the astral plane. That is what is happening. So I want to do a little exercise that may help us to access this library in our DNA to end our starseed activation. This should be an activation for you. Check out my starseed activation meditation, and I just call upon your subconscious. If you're a regular listener of me and you've done meditations with me, then I am coding the words that I'm using to awaken you, even if you don't meditate, that you're going to leave this episode and you're going to feel awakened. You're going to feel a DNA change. Your energies will increase and balance. You'll be able to overcome any energy deficiencies, and you'll be aware and conscious of these changes, and they will propel, and I call upon your subconscious to activate these DNA changes at this time. Now is the time that you have come here. You've chosen to listen to this podcast. You were driven to come here. The light came on for you, and now you feel these changes beginning to happen. I call upon your subconscious for you to allow your subconscious to do these DNA changes. Find a place where you can just be free of distraction. Put yourself in a comfortable position. You might be in one now. Turn off any other outside noises. Close the door and place yourself in a space where you can be fully with yourself, maybe for a half hour or an hour. Once you're in position, imagine yourself walking towards a door, the entrance towards the room where you will find all of the files on your DNA base coding. This room contains every single thing in your DNA, every single experience, choice, thought, feeling, person you have encountered in your consciousness as a human. In this room, there are files that call out to you to be aware of them, and also some that jump out at you to be read. So choose one of the files that are jumping out at you that indicate you want to be read at this time. These are high priority files that are urgently wanting your attention. They are here to reveal to you information that is of particular importance to you at this time. New awareness about yourself that is buried deep inside of your DNA. They are here to reveal what is true about you so that you may recognize deeper layers of yourself that you had never been able to put your finger to previously. You might say to yourself, I finally see what this is all about. I understand the reason I am the way I am. The reason I did that earlier on in my life, and the reason certain things in my life were arranged the way they were. These are the types of realization and aha moments that these files are holding for you. I want you to take a few moments and ponder on this and what you see, and try to write some of this down. And I will include this in a larger meditation in the future. This is a precious room, for it contains every single one of your experiences as a human being. It is your base coding that is inside of your DNA, inside of you. It is you, meaning that it contains not only all that you have experienced, but also all that you are potential to become. Many of these files are lighting up at the present time, now waiting to come alive again and to reveal even more about you to yourself. They are waiting to jog your memory to what you have forgotten about yourself. The remembrances and genes that have gone dark inside of your base coding that are operating in a soft murmur in the background. These are all waiting to rev up again, bringing their traits, gifts, and energies back into your being and everyday life on this planet. Welcome them back into your life with gratitude for their return. Embrace the new uncomfortableness that they bring through shifting you to see a different way of doing and being. Work with them to create and allow the changes to happen in your waking life. You now have the key. You've awakened the DNA inside of you gradually over time, in batches and in sequences that have been most appropriate for you. This DNA is in the process of awakening. Come to an understanding with your subconscious mind and allow this to happen. You may have placed restrictions on your life pre-incarnationally that you did not need to have this activated, but the earth may have changed, and you may need to call to your subconscious and your heart that has this divine wisdom, and perhaps it is time to awaken these bodies. You have several different bodies that are beyond your own. The energetic body includes the etheric body, the emotional body on the physical plane, the mental body on the physical plane, the astral body, the etheric template, the celestial body, and the etheric body. I've discussed this in other episodes, and we can definitely go down that road in another episode. They're related to your chakras and on different levels of your aura. These things will begin to activate. You will have some level of awareness of an energy field outside of your own body beyond your fingers and feet. That's important to become aware of. As you activate your DNA, this portion of your body becomes energized. So become aware of it. You are a starseed and you have been activated from this moment on. So I'd love to get your impressions. Have you been activated? What did you experience from your activation? Did you have any energetic consequences? There is several places that you can go that are online that talk about starseed symptoms. Check out the Mind's Journal /starseed-symptoms. It's an article written with 33 starseed symptoms that you can find, including periods of sleep, don't feel like doing anything, a loss of desire for food. Some of these symptoms may be a sign that you are going through an activation, and just know that it's okay. A lot of people have discussed these changes, and you're not crazy, you're not weird, you're not unusual. I believe you. Don't make it part of your overall personality. Find your purpose. It's not about who you are in the past. It's about what you're doing right now. It doesn't matter. You don't need perfect clarification of where you come from. You chose not to know that stuff. It's important that you understand who you are and what you are. As Paul Selig says in his wonderful book, I know who you are. I know what you are. I know how you serve. You are free. You are free. You are free. Please let me know your own experiences in being a starseed when you first realized that you were a part of this family. Explain to everybody, share your experiences. Everybody needs to know so that they don't feel alone. Put a like on this video so other people can hear about this, because we have maybe 1 billion people right now that are here for a reason, a gigantic army of light. And the rest of us have even deeper cosmic origins coming from angels and higher beings. And this planet is amazing. And it is now time to overcome the prison that we've been placed in and to change the universe. Now is the time to do it. All episodes of The Reality Revolution can be found at therealityrevolution.com. And welcome to The Reality Revolution.